So we've been looking so far at setting the values of the variables ourselves. First of all, we set them to 100 up here, and later on we've been adding to them, changing them incrementally, generating that straight line of rocks and trees that we saw. So I'm going to undo the changes I made there, and I'm going to increase the object count here to 10, so it's going to be generating 10 of each object. And rather than worrying about using scenery X and scenery Y here and controlling these, I'm going to replace these with random number generation. So first of all, we'll set the X location here of the tree, and we're going to set that to rand, open close brackets, because rand is a function that generates a random number, and it will generate a random number between 0 and the value I give it, the random max. So say percentage and 500. So that's the correct syntax for sending it. Rand, open close brackets, percentage 500 will generate a random number between 0 and this maximum value here of 500. So let's keep using this, nice and quick. Copy, paste it in, and then we want to re-randomize these when we generate the rock. So that's why I have this code in twice here. We set the values, we make a tree, then we reset the values before we make a rock, in order to avoid that situation we had right at the start with the rock and the tree appearing at the same location. So let's go back into Unreal, compile what we've got, and as soon as that's compiled successfully, we can play. Now, very closely clustered together our rocks, possibly and all of our bushes, because we didn't set a high enough value, but you can see these have been randomly placed within the level. So I'm going to increase the rand max to 2000 in each of these. 2000, 2000, 2000 and 2000. Ooh, not 20,000, 2,000, that should be enough. Go back in, compile, and play. So that's looking like quite a nice distribution of rocks and bushes. But you may notice they're all appearing within that same quarter of the map. This is happening because 0, 0 on the map is right in the middle, just where I start. So when I'm generating a random number between 0 and 2000, it's anywhere along this line here, and then 0 and 2000 again, this line here. So if you imagine this as a graph with the central 0 position, they'd only be able to appear in this quarter. Now I'm going to change that by going in, and I'm going to use a function called RandRange in a moment, which instead of generating them between 0 and the rand max that we give here, we're able to set both the maximum and minimum numbers. So RandRange is a mathematical function that is part of FMath. FMath is a structure that contains lots of different mathematical functions that we can carry out, something that we'll look at in later tutorials. But for now, all you need to know is to use RandRange. We're going to start with FMath, : rand range. Make sure I get that typed in. Range, and here I give it a rand min, a starting point. I'd like it to be able to be generated anywhere between -2000 and 2000. So think back to what we were just talking about. From 0 to 2000 on this axis would be anywhere in this point. By saying -2000, I'm starting right on the edge here, and the maximum value is right on the opposite edge here. And we're going to do the same for all of our axes. Again, save ourselves a bit of time by copying and pasting this across. And once more, we want to compile this before we run it. As soon as you've compiled, let's play. And there we have it. We've got rocks and bushes being generated all around our level. Now, at this point, you should experiment with your variables, see what changing certain values can do. For example, we can easily go in and change the value of our integer variable object count from 10. Our landscape was looking a bit empty. Let's try making that 50. You may notice that 2000 and 2000 are right on the edge of our levels. Possibly we don't want those to be overhanging. So let's try changing those to 1950. This will stop any objects being generated right on the edge of the level. Bear with me whilst I change all of these. And then we'll compile one last time in this tutorial and see, does that look about the right amount, 50 of each, or is that still looking empty? Possibly it's looking too cluttered. Okay, maybe a bit busy, but we've filled up the landscape, and remember, the value of our object count relates directly to how many rocks and how many bushes are going to appear in our level. If we want 5 less, we can change that variable by -5. If we want one more, we can say it plus equals 1. If we want to change the randomness to spread it over twice the area, double the rand min, double the rand max in that random number generator in RandRange. Or if we only want to generate between 0 and a set number, we can use the rand function there. So hopefully this has given you a good insight into variables. We can see what changing the values actually does within our level, from changing the position of the rocks to controlling the number of each object that is spawned. Thank you for watching.